wash your mind before entering this temple. Let go, mind, let go. Let me soar the universe in bliss. Observing the silence in the prayer hall, even the butterfly stops fluttering. These are words of Satish Gupta, artist, sculptor, poet, but above all, a man in search of Buddha, the Buddha within himself. How does Satish translate his spiritual quest onto his art? One of India's great artists is on Art Talk with me, Jujhar Singh. Satish, thank you very much for joining us on Art Talk. Very happy.
Thank you, Jujhar, for inviting me.
Thank you very much. Your latest works have some monumental sculptures. Let's look at your reclining Buddha. How beautiful, how magnificent.
Well, this sculpture, the Buddha within, is monumental. I like to play with scale, and that's what I've done in this one.
It's a reclining Buddha. The eyes are gently shut. How blissful.
Yes, that's the way I saw him. I was in Sri Lanka at that time of tsunami. I was supposed to be in a hotel in Galle, which was washed away and many people died. But I was in Dambulla caves, which are thousands of years old. And I felt protected by Buddha's presence. So I was inside the cave. And Buddha was, it was almost like being protected in a womb, in a mother's womb.
This is why what you've done with the sculpture is that you have the reclining Buddha, and then when you go around, the backside is like a cave with a life-size Buddha lying down, and the cave walls have 1,500 micro Buddhas sculpted on them.
Yeah, well, I've done these little icons of Buddha, 500 for the past, 500 for the present, and 500 for the future. Because Buddha's presence is timeless, and he was so serene, so tranquil amid all what was happening. Life and death merged into each other. There was no difference between. It was like negative and positive. It was all happening, and through it all, Buddha was very calm and serene. And it took me all these years to express it in a sculpture.
You were showing the serenity of the Buddha, you were showing the timelessness of the Buddha or Godhood with those 500, 500, 500 sculptures, the mini sculptures for past, present, future.
Yes, and the repetition like a mantra of it also evokes sound, the chanting.
And this sculpture actually promotes the idea of a parikrama, isn't it? Because you can go all around and you can see Buddha in the front, Buddha at the back, the Buddha is everywhere.
That's
all around us.
It's like a temple, and you do the parikrama of the image. It's a divine presence. It's not Buddha per se.
Yeah.
It could be Vishnu, it could be Shiva, it could be Christ, it could be Nanak, it could be any manifestation of the divine.
Satish, you've been heavily influenced by Zen Buddhism. The aim of Buddhism, like Hinduism, is to achieve enlightenment, oneness with God. How, according to Buddhism, do you get there?
Well, if you follow the noble path, there are many, many steps, and you see that the negative and the positive is all shunya, it's the emptiness.
Buddhism describes the state of enlightenment as shunya or zero.
That's
emptiness. What is this shunya?
Well, shunya is a state of consciousness where you're one with the divine, one with life, one with everything. And that's where there is no duality left. There is just a oneness.
You realize that Godhood is infinite, it's all-pervading, and you are that.
You are that. It's all in within yourself and outside yourself. Everything is, there is no separation.
Hinduism's Vedanta philosophy describes that state as pure consciousness, pure awareness, within which everything is happening.
So does Zen Buddhism. Is a point where you've centered everything into that consciousness, where you merge with the divine.
And become one with that pure consciousness, that infinite consciousness.
Yes, that's a shunya.
So let's look at your sculpture called Shunya now. You have a circle, you have Lord Buddha within that. So the idea being that Shunya is the state of Buddha.
It is, and this is where everything is merging. It's a kinetic sculpture where there is a lot of movement. Everything is turning. I mean, this ground that we're sitting on, we feel is stable and is still, but it is not. Everything is turning. All the cells in our body, everything is moving. Everything is. So this is the Shunya is about that.
And what's interesting is that you've got this circle and you've cut out a Buddha out of that. Therefore, you have a Buddha which is full, you have a Buddha which is empty. What are you trying to show over here?
So Buddha is the Shunya. Emptiness and fullness is the same thing. Negative and positive is the same thing. So I've pulled the negative, I've left a trace of the emptiness and I've pulled the positive thing out of it just to emphasize that point.
Both the fullness and the emptiness is within the Buddha, is within Godhood.
Within Buddha, which is within all of us.
Let's look at another phenomenal work of yours, Meditations on a Mandala. Why don't you describe that for us, please?
As you know, that the mandala is used for concentrating the mind and focusing on an image and stilling the mind and going to a higher level. So the mandalas in Buddhism are used for that. And
there's a gentle motion to this sculpture as well.
Yeah, so it's a circle and the center is again moving. Mm-hmm. It's moving and stilling. So it comes, it's like a dream, and that comes and stills for an instant and then moves again. So the mind, you concentrate on that.
It's like a mind in meditation. There's movement, then it stops, and then there's movement again.
That's what life is about. No? There is stillness, there's repose, and then life moves on. This action, this is churning all the time.
And look at the face of Buddha. I mean, like all your Buddhas, look at the calmness, the serenity.
Yes, that is, the serenity is a very important part of my work, and I think that's something that I like to. I like my Buddha to be serene, because I think that's really the essence of Buddha, the serenity.
And your Buddhas emanate so much serenity that when a viewer looks at it, he or she can also feel that calmness and serenity. And that's a testimony to your success as a sculptor.
I'm blessed to be able to do that.
Satish, it looks like to me your work, your creation of art is a prayer for you.
It is a prayer, it is a meditation, and for me, every moment is a meditation.
But Satish, I believe you've always been an inward person, and it began when your journalist father passed away in a plane crash when you were 4 years old. What did that do to you?
Well, I think it was the most tragic thing that could have happened to a 4.5-year-old, and I couldn't even comprehend that what death was. I couldn't comprehend, because I was pretty much left to my own devices, because I had many siblings and my mother was taking care of everyone, and we had, whatever financial problems there were. So I took painting as an anchor. This very tragic event is something that led to my being an artist. I think you have to experience something very moving to be able to create.
In the 1970s, you came across a Zen Buddhism book in Paris. Now that was another turning point for you. What happened?
Well, I was 20 at that time, and I was searching. My young mind had all these questions. It was full of questions. What is this and what is that, and why is this and why is that? So I was
looking for answers.
Looking for answers. We're still looking for answers, but at that point it was a big search that I'd come on a scholarship to a strange country, strange language.
To learn art, actually.
Yeah.
In Paris.
In Paris, I was studying art. Yeah. So I came across a second-hand bookshop, which is called the Shakespeare Bookshop, and I was looking through a pile of books, and I discovered this treasure. It was fantastic. It really changed my life. It was Paul Repp's book, Zen Flesh, Zen Bones.
Satish, how has Zen Buddhism changed your life and your work as an artist?
It's changed me totally. It changed me completely, because I think Zen to me is a living Zen. It's not a philosophy. It's not a religion. It's certainly not a religion to me. It's a way of life. It's a way of being.
In the 1980s, you were doing paintings. Your paintings are minimalistic. What was happening at the time?
Well, this is what was. I was at that point. I started my search for Shunya, and the 9 oxiding pictures really influenced me. And I was.
You were personally becoming quieter, so your works are becoming quieter as well.
Quieter and quieter and quieter, and
you reduce the forms in your paintings. You even reduce colors.
I removed color. My palette was grays and blues and beiges and whites. Lot of. In fact, you could say I was just painting mist and clouds. You know, not even clouds, just mist. So.
Satish, then in 1994, you got engaged to Amita, but then you got discovered with a brain tumor. What happened at the time?
I was in love with Amita, and we were together for many years, for 3-4 years, but I never thought I wanted to get married. And there were lots of reasons. One of them was that I thought I wouldn't be able to paint. There were other pressures. So I kept saying no, that I will not get married. And I was very much in love. So it was a constant conflict in my mind. And we said goodbye, and then I discovered that I couldn't paint for 6 months. So I called her, and we hadn't met each other or seen each other or heard of each other for 6 months, and I proposed on the phone. And she was shocked to hear my voice on the phone after 6 months proposing to her. And I said, Amita, will you marry me? And she said, no, and she banged the phone. And I lost my hearing on this year. So this year, I didn't want to hear a no for an answer. So the next day, went and proposed very properly in Lodi Garden, bended knees and all the stuff, you know. So she agreed, we got engaged, and then she went off to, she was a photographer at that time, she was photographing in Rajasthan. So she went off for a month, and there my hearing, because I had lost my hearing, so I went to the radiologist, and they did the scan, and they discovered the tumor.
You were operated on successfully, you then got married to Amita. Yes. But what did that whole experience do to you and your work as an artist?
Well, for one, my neurologist cleaned up my brain. So it's my, I take it as my reincarnation. I'm blessed to be alive, and I really realized how precious every moment is, you know.
But how did all this change your art? I'll tell you why I'm asking you this, because I see that from the mid-1990s to the end of the 1990s, your minimalistic work gave way to human form suddenly appeared.
Well,
bright colors.
Yes, yes.
What was happening?
She brought the color back in my life, and I went to the desert, which I was
Rajasthan.
In Rajasthan,
yeah.
And that, because I'd come to the Shunya, emptiness, I didn't know what I would do. I thought I'll change my palette, I'll just go to the desert, bring in the warm colors, and I would have changed the palette. I would still be painting landscape. And there I saw a man who was a camel man, Qasim, whom I painted almost 12, 13 times through as many years. And this was because Amita brought all the color, and then this whole, the people, the romance of Rajasthan.
And look at the eyes of this man, and the eyes of the other desert folk that you got. They are so piercing.
Well, that's what I find, that people um, really look you in the eye and they communicate. They're not evasive. They're so pure. The people there in the desert.
Satish, let's now look at your works from 2007 till the present. You did this 12 feet high Shiva's head, Kalyana Sundara. My question is that when you sculpt divine figures, what is the process not outside but within yourself?
I wanted to sculpt Kalyan Sundara, Shiva as Kalyana Sundara, which is the time of his marriage, which is the most beautiful form of Shiva. Vishnu is giving Parvati to Shiva, her hand to Shiva for marriage. And I thought one day I would like to sculpt that moment where they both merge, he gets married. So in the head of Kalyana Sundara, it's both Shiva and Parvati. So it's very, it's not half cut like that, one side male, one side female, no, it's internal. So from certain angles when you see it, it's very masculine, another form is very feminine, which is both are within us, that's what I've sculpted there.
After Shiva the Destroyer, you then created Lord Vishnu. Huge work, 23 by 22 by 10 feet. What inspired you there?
Well, I had gone through a very, very, very intense experience. I almost lost my eyesight creating the sculpture head of Shiva. So somebody advised me to now do Vishnu to get my energy back, because Shiva is, for me, is the energy is something that is pulling, that's like a black hole, and Vishnu's energy is like a supernova, it's emanating, and this whole process is going back and forth. So I wanted to create a Vishnu.
And I believe you've put together 2 lakh 1 square inch pieces of copper to make this sculpture.
Yes, I thought I would end it at 1,84,000 because that's the number of births that you take, but it went beyond that because I wasn't calculating, it was just happening.
Okay. What a radiant Lord Vishnu.
I was sailing down the Nile when this inspiration for this work came, and I got off the ship and I went to Luxor, and I saw the big heads of pharaohs there gazing into eternity, and I was like, really, this is something I would like to do. And I saw Vishnu in that, because Vishnu is the whole cosmos, and my Vishnu is looking into the beyond.
So you did Shiva, you then did Vishnu, and then you had to do Lord Brahma. But you did another manifestation of his, Surya.
Yes, that's I did for T3.
Delhi's Terminal 3 Airport.
Terminal 3 Airport. And this was again very fortunate in that time, because my Trinity got complete with that, and the Surya, which is Brahma actually, this manifestation of Brahma, really I was very surprised because I didn't plan it that way, and when you look at the back of it, it's like the jet engine, the turbine. It's really the chariot, the wheels of the Surya, the Konarak, the Surya god, traveling on the horses. So
it's a wonderful work of yours. Look at the beauty, look at the magnificence it shows of the sun god.
Yes, well, after that, because the Surya, my Trinity was complete, and I needed something to energize it, because without the Devi, they're incomplete. There's no energy, they're dead.
The Trinity.
The Trinity. You have to have the female. The female energy is very, very important to energize the whole cosmos, the whole universe. So I did the Devi for
the Leela Palace Hotel in Delhi.
Yes. Leela Palace Hotel.
You've also done this incredible installation, Satish. Many different canvases put together. It's inspired by the Vishnu Sahasranama, the 1,000 names of Lord Vishnu. What beautiful colors, what a powerful work.
Well, this work was, I really wanted to explore color, and the 360 canvases I've done on the 1,000 names of Vishnu, because the Vishnu Sahasranama is an incredible piece of work. You know, it is all the energy of Vishnu is talking of one of the names. I forget the Sanskrit word for it, but what is most beautiful is the meaning that Vishnu is the builder. He's the architect, the builder, and also the brick, which I find really, everything is again the unity. There's no duality.
The idea that the Lord pervades everything.
Everything. So that, so I read it over years. I read the Sahasranama and I tried to fathom the meaning of different names.
The 1,000 names of Lord Vishnu showing his different facets.
Yes, that's, yeah. But each work on that is, each color is related to a different energy of Vishnu.
Finally, Satish, let's look at your recent work, Garur. Now, he's the Vahan, the vehicle of Lord Vishnu. I believe you were fascinated by his story.
Garuda is a demigod who has given up his ego, he's surrendered to the divine, because he had, the story is that he had to fetch the nectar from Indra, because his mother was imprisoned by her sister, and he had to bring the nectar to give it to the sons of the sister of the mother. And he battles everything, he battles every obstacle, and he brings the nectar, but he had the gift of possibility of immortality for himself, but he didn't take a sip because he could have been immortal, and he brings it to release, get his mother released from the clutches. I found that a fascinating story.
And this whole sculpture of Garur, it's very elegant, it's huge, but there's a sense of lightness in it, like as if it can almost fly. How'd you do that as a sculptor?
Well, I think that possibility of flight is also in his posture, his surrender, where he's got his hands folded, and
So it's giving an aerodynamic look.
Yes, and he's slightly bent forward, and I think it's the wings which are the lightness, even though they're heavy, physical weight is heavy, but the wings appear very light, they're almost transparent, and that is what possibly gives the feeling that he could take off.
Absolutely wonderful. Satish, let's take a very short break. When we come back, I'm going to ask you about the purpose of art.
Thank you.
One of India's great artist sculptors, Satish Gupta, is on the show. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching Art Talk with me, Jujhar Singh. Leading artist sculptor Satish Gupta is on the show. Satish, what is the purpose of art?
I think art is just life, it's just to be alive. That is to make people aware that you're alive, that this moment is precious. The beauty of it, the vastness of the universe, the joy of living. And I think I'm trying to create some beauty, some joy in this very turbulent times, some serenity. That's what I'm trying to. That's for me is the purpose of my art.
Satish, it's been beautiful talking to you. Thank you very much for joining us on Art Talk.
Thank you, Jujhar. Thank you.